Hello, what's up, guys? Myself Shreyash Magdum, and today I am going to show you to develop a multi-container application where one container shall be used for hosting the front end, and the other container should be used for the database. We will be doing this by connecting the two containers to deploy one application. The connection we done by using the config.yaml file. So let's start this. First, open the VS Code. Here, here I have the application created. Here are two. Uh, as you see, I created a Docker container named a project, or you can say application. It is a simple login and registration application. In that, I created two files like backend and frontend, and one YAML file. In this YAML file, we will be doing all the configurations. Let's check one by one. First, backend file. In the backend file, I have created a Spring Boot project, or we can say Spring Boot project. As you see, here the multiple folders are there in Spring Boot. Let's go dive deep into this. I open the src folder. In the main Java, I created some packages, the controller, entity, repository, and service, which will be handling our application. Let's see one by one. First, the entity. This is the model class where the username, password, and the ID, which is generated by the strategy identity. This is generated by system itself, and we have also two more fields like username or password, uh, by which we can identify the user at the time the login. Here are the two getters for the getting the username and password. And let's see the next user repository. It is the important, uh, the it is the interface given by Hibernate, which we extend the JPA repository class, and in that we have two parameters like user, our model class, and the type of the ID parameter. And in that we created one default method like find by username. In that we pass the username, and which will fetch the username which the user entered. Now let's move to the service class, in which we implement the all logic for our application. It is a simple logic. In that we first auto-add the user repository, and we use here constructor calling method. It is the new one in Spring 3.0, and we have created two methods like register user. It is a simple method like uh, it fetch the user and returns the user repository or save, meaning the it saves the user which will be come from the method, and it's saved in the repository. And the same login user, which will be getting the username and password as a parameters or arguments. And we used here the find by username, which will give the username from the user repository, and we return it by checking true or false. It gets it is just simple. In one line we get the true or false, like user is not null and user dot get password is equal to this password. Then uh, then the user is valid. Now let's move to the controller. In the controller, all the mappings are there. All the mappings for the front end are there, in which we use the add the controller annotation. Add the controller annotation, it is tells that it is a controller. We have two types of controller, REST controller and this type of controller. REST controller are sending the data in JSON format directly, but these controllers fetches the particular page we have written in return type. In this we are doing the user service, as we want to use the user service methods like that's why we are auto wired, we can auto wired, or we can say we can initialize in a constructor calling method. Firstly, we have the get mapping like index. It is the uh, front page. Like we when we hit the localhost, then this page is shown. Like that, we have the three methods: registration form, register user, or login. In login, it checks the inputted username and password with the repositories user and password. And let's move to the front end. For the front end, I have created a different file because we want to containerize the both. We want to containerize both the files. The backend should be run on one container, and the front end should be run on other container. That's why I created these two folders. Let's dive into the front end container. This is the landing page. This is the first page that we are going show. We are going land on, we fire the localhost, and this is the login form, and this is the registration form, and here is the simple JavaScript that handles the username and password and gives the error if any error occurs. This is the full code. And let's see how to containerize these two. Let's see how to containerize the backend file. First, we have to create the Docker file. In that Docker file, I added some values. I'll tell you what are these one by one. First, wait a second. First is a from attribute where the Docker can get where to start this configuration. Firstly, I have used OpenJDK 21 JDK Slim. It is the image name. It is the image name on which we are we are deploying the our application. We are using OpenJDK 21 because we are using the Spring Boot, and Spring Boot is the framework of Java. That's why we have used OpenJDK to run the Java application. And the second line is the volume slash temp, meaning we can creating a simple directory for writing the temporary data which the application writes. And this line, it is a add target. Add means the copy the destination source directory to the destination. In our case, the source is target dot docker app. This is the source. Where is the source? Target. CD. This is the file. This is the jar file. That's why we can't see the. It is the binary file. Copy this file to the destination file and create the name app.jar. And this is the we set entry point. Here we are setting the entry point. Entry points are the points where the application start running. We are setting the entry point. We are giving the name app jar. App jar we are giving it because start the application from app jar. Then you are starting the whole Spring Boot app. And this is the Docker file for the front end. And the question is how I can get this docker.app.jar. For this I have to run the command. Let's open the terminal. Let's jump into this directory, backend, cd backend. We are in this directory. Here we have to run the command like maven. Let me check the command first. I have to run the command maven clean package. I have already run this program. I have already applied this. That's why I get the target folder and the jar file in it, and I used the jar file in the properties, docker file properties, and let's see the docker file for the front end itself. This is the docker file for front ends. I used the engines image, which this is used for running the front end applications like HTML. And here we copy all the Nginx is a popular web based server which runs the port based front end, and the second line is to copy the all data in this path, and third one expose 80 means we give the port 80 for the application. And let's dive into the docker compose.yaml, where we can create a bridge between two containers. The bridge is required with the bridge is required to communication between two containers. Here we created the services like backend, frontend, and database. These three services run simultaneously and isolated, means backend does not see the data of frontend and vice versa. In that we used the image docker container backend, and the build path where to build this service. And the third point is port. Assign the 8080 port to 8080 port in my system. This 8080 port uh, is in the Docker's network, and this is in the system my system port. And same like a front end, I have visited Docker container front end name, and it is build path is the front end. Here we assign the port 80 of our system. The default port is 8081, and in DB this is the port, and the password is root password. And here we can see the target, SRC, and application dot properties. Here uh, we do some configurations like so server port is 8080, application is running on server port 8080. Here's the MySQL URL, by which we connect to the MySQL, and this is the username, this is the password, and this is the driver class from which we get the all methods and annotations like that. And we can see the queries like SQL queries in our terminal, and this is the Hibernate dialect. To run this Docker application, first we have to start the Docker. Let's come into the desktop, and where's my Docker? Start the Docker. Let's save the application, that's why it takes the load my system. Or you can see starting the Docker engine. um, Wait, that's it. Here's the container. Firstly I delete it for showing deleted, and these are the images. I also delete the deleting. Okay, now I have no container, no images, and no containers are running in background. Let's close this and open cmd. Let's see why cmd. If you have container which is running background, the command is docker.ps. As you see, this is the empty, that's mean the there's no container running or no image is containerized. Let's come in the VS code and open the terminal by control dash. Let's maximize it, and in our parent folder type the command. The command for running the docker is docker dash compose docker up and double dash and build. When I hit enter, as you see, it starting to pulling the images. As you can see here, downloading the images are required to containerize the our application. As Here are the different images we are going to use. We deleted the containers. It again downloads images and containers we have deleted. That's why download again to use. Here the all containers are successfully downloaded. Let's see. There's one extracting. Oh, okay, done. It gets started by building our uh, application. You can see the front end load build definition from Docker file. The Docker file we are created for front end. This Docker file, this C. This is the backend Docker file. That's and you can see load the Docker file from backend, transferring the data into Docker file as we return the command add. That's why it copy all the necessary files into Docker. Then as we can see front end, the container two images are successfully downloaded, and we can say exporting and running. Here is you can see the application is our running. The 1 2 3 4 4 images are created successfully, and we can see front container, front end entry point. Here you can see D, and as we see the Spring application started running, and you can see the backend started the Spring application. And as we can get on below, as you can see the DB also started, and we can taste it. Look, here's the container and taking 1% of my CPU, and you can see images. There is a MySQL. We are used a MySQL to store the data. Here is a front end, and is a backend for front end. We are used a NIJX server, and for the backend we use the JDK, which is run by Java, and we can enter the command docker ps and see which are the images are there or containers are there. Let's hit the localhost 888. Let hit the localhost 808121. As you can see here, this is the integrated application has started. This is the login form and this is the registration form. As we can created two different methods, two different files for the backend and front end, and with the help of the docker we can containerize the two files into one container and run it together. Here we can stop the container. Thank you. That's my time.